not all Christmas dinners need to have the centerpiece of a turkey. Today I'm showing you this vegetarian Christmas dinner that will steal the show. It's a golden flaky dome filled with cream and herbs and leeks and mushrooms, and it is sensational. It's my Dauphinoise Pithivier, and it will steal the show at any Christmas dinner. So come with me and I'll show you step by step how to make this incredible vegetarian Christmas showstopper. So here are the ingredients that we need to make this incredible vegetarian showstopper for your Christmas table. I mean, seriously, what's not to love about it? Dauphinoise potato, yes please. Buttery flaky pastry, yes please. Put them together, what a win. And actually a very simple recipe to make. There aren't many ingredients, and if you didn't have these, this is also a great base for something that you could reinvent in a different way. You could recreate it with some pumpkin, maybe some sweet potato, even a celeriac, anything that's starchy and delicious when it's mixed with cream, garlic and thyme will work a treat. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to make it. After being a chef for 20 years, Dauphinoise potatoes are one of them things that as a home cook, I know you guys struggle with, because the thing is they actually take a really long time to cook in the oven. So with this dish, you're removing that element of will it cook in time? Is it going to be ready? Because what we're going to do is slice these and cook them before we make the pie. And all of that creamy goodness that they get cooked in, we're going to use to make a wonderful filler with cheese, leek and mushrooms. I don't know what says Christmas more than this, apart from maybe my jumper, which I do love. I just wear this jumper all year round. It really is my absolute favorite. But this dish will certainly make anyone who's sat at your Christmas table smile with joy, because actually this is also a really great alternative to a meat main course for your veggie friends, or if you're trying to cut down on costs, because potatoes, leeks and mushrooms are relatively cheap. All of this here came in under $20. One of the most expensive things being the cream and the cheese. And you end up with an amazing showstopper. So let's get into doing this, get it baking, because tell you what, I'm ready for a slice of Dauphinoise pie. So this starts like any classic Dauphinoise would. We're going to slice up the potatoes and we're going to infuse the cream with the garlic and the thyme and cook the potatoes in it. Either you have a mandolin, which is one of those tools that you might have in the kitchen, which means you can slice your potatoes nice and thin, or if you don't, you're doing it by hand. But if you're doing it by hand, I will show you now. You want to make sure that you keep these as thin as you can and as consistent as you can, so that they can all cook at the same time. The thinness relates then to how quickly they will cook in the cream. Also, I suggest that if you can, you use a large pan, something like this with a large surface area, because we want to make sure that they can all sit under the surface of the cream. We will also add a tiny little bit of milk just to thin it out so that it doesn't cook too fast. The problem is if you do it in something like this, a pot maybe this size, or you might only have something small like this, you have a greater chance of your potatoes sticking to the base. You have to turn them, so it means you might break them. You have to constantly stir it and hope that they're all cooking at the same time. That is why I suggest if you have a large pan where you can lay them up in maybe one or two, then this is your better option, because in the pan things can start to go a little bit wrong. So I do suggest that if you are trying this for the first time, a large pan is better than a pot. But if a pot is all you have, you just have to be delicate when you're stirring, because you don't want them to break up. So let's get these potatoes sliced. We're going to get it all in here and then we're going to add in the other bits. So you just want to make sure that you take it slowly. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, you just want to make sure that they're all the same. Nice and thin, take your time, and you'll end up with a better result. When you're getting towards the end of your potatoes, you really want to make sure that you grip it really well with your hands, and definitely take it a little bit slower if you're not so confident with your knife, because it's obviously a smaller piece and you have a higher chance of it rolling around or falling over. So just really hold on to it tight, keep your fingers as your guide, and you can just slice away. And that's it, all the potatoes done, all sliced up, all the same thickness. And that is all you want to achieve, whether they're a little bit thicker or maybe a little bit thin like this. You kind of want to pick somewhere that you know you can keep them consistently the same. And now all you want to do is have them in your pan, and as you can see, this is why it would be no good in a deep pot, because actually there's quite a lot of potato here. Spread them around, so that's our 3 potatoes in there. This pie will be enough to feed probably 4 people. You could even probably feed 6 with it. You just have to be careful when you slice it up when it's cut, because it does become a little bit difficult to do. So we're going to add in that 500 mils of cream. I always like to splash in there a little bit of water as well, because to be honest, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit extra liquid in here. And then I'm going to add in that little bunch of thyme, which is only actually about 2 grams worth of thyme. It's not a lot, it's fresh, fantastic. If you only had dried, add a little bit of dried, but you know, it's like if you had a fresh rosemary plant, maybe go and use some of that instead. A fresh one will give it that little bit of extra brightness, because obviously it is a fresh herb. And now I love garlic, so I'm going to add in 4 garlics, 4 cloves, give them a little crush. We're just going to pop them in there too. So far, pretty simple, right? Dauphinoise, not particularly complicated to make either. Sometimes you just need to understand the process of how it's made to make it feel a little bit easier. And the last things that we need to add to this is 250 mils of milk. And if you are looking for this recipe, it's on my website. It's in the description box down below, www.disheswithdell.com, and you will find this fantastic recipe along with plenty of others and lots of Christmas stuff. It's there in the description box. Go have a little look. And then salt and pepper. I definitely think that home cooks are always a little bit worried about seasoning, but they're so important. Salt especially is probably my #1 ingredient because it enhances flavors. So don't be scared on using it. So we've got plenty of salt and pepper in with the potatoes. And that is the first part done. So we're going to pop this on the stove, and we are going to cook these potatoes until they are knife tender. So we're going to be able to slide a knife in there and they are going to fall off. I mean, of course, you can also taste one to make sure that they're cooked. You need to just have a tiny bit of bite left, because obviously these are going to then go into the oven when they are baked in the Pithivier for another 35-40 minutes. So if there is a tiny little bit of bite left, it really isn't a problem. It will probably take about 15 minutes. We want it on a low heat. We don't want this to be boiling. We just want it on a simmer. And even better, if you have a pan with a lid, get that lid on there, because that lid will add that little bit of extra steam, meaning that the cream and the milk won't crazy evaporate and we won't be left with nothing, because that wonderful stuff, unlike if you were making a Dauphinoise where you're adding it all to the tray, we are going to use that to make a fantastic addition to our mushrooms and our leeks. So let's get this on, and while that's working, we'll get the other stuff ready. So our potatoes are on, the lid is on. And I would suggest that if you do put a lid on, you just want that lid to be slightly to one side so a little steam can get out, because otherwise if it's on too hot, your cream might boil over, which, even though I've been a chef for 20 years, is still the kind of thing that happens to me, so you know, you have been warned. Part 2 of the Dauphinoise Pithivier. So for this interior, what do we need to do? We're going to take our mushrooms and we're going to slice them. And then we want to slice up our leek. And don't be afraid of using some of the green. And you can always keep this stuff in the freezer. I've added up here loads of ideas that you can do with the tops of your leeks, from making stock cubes to making delicious exo sauce. I mean, these things are great, so don't throw them in the bin, and if you don't have a compost, keep them in the freezer and use them for something else. So you want to slice up your leeks, get all the bits that have gone everywhere, and we're going to add them to the colander. And what we need to do with these is give them a wash, because leeks are always very gritty from the soil, so make sure that they really get a good wash. And that's it, prep for the interior completed. The only other thing we're going to do is add 2 garlic cloves in when we are cooking this, but we can grate them in when we're ready to go. So let's get this cooked, and then we can get this thing built and baking. What you want to do when you're cooking this down is add in them leeks, add a little bit of salt to start to soften them up, and we are going to caramelize them and cook them down until they are absolutely wonderful perfection. The most important thing when your potatoes are cooking as well is that they are all cooking in the same way. You might have a slight hot spot on your stove, so make sure that you're constantly giving them a little shake, give them a little wiggle. One might be nearly done and the other might not be quite there, so just make sure you kind of give a good check over all your potatoes, and if the worst comes to the worst, just take one out and give it a little bite, but you want to make sure that it's nearly fully cooked. We're then going to add in the mushrooms and we're going to let them cook down thoroughly too, so that you've got this really cohesive mix of the leek and the mushroom. Grate in your garlic and bring it all together. Let that garlic cook out, and then what we're going to do to this is add a tablespoon of flour, and we're going to add in that cream and milk that we poured off from the potatoes. The potatoes are to one side cooling, and while they do that, this can cook down. That cream and milk can thicken, and then we're going to grate in a whole bunch of Parmesan. Give it a little taste, give it a little season, and then it's time to build. Okay, we are at the build. Now, I just want to talk about these leeks for a little minute, and also the potatoes. But the leeks, as you can see here, this now is extremely thick, as it's called. But what you really need to be aware of, that you cook it down far enough when it's hot. You want to make sure that it's super thick there, because we are making this pie, and when it bakes, it's going to heat up again, and we don't want it to be any looser than it currently was, because otherwise it will leak out and not hold its shape. So even though now obviously it's cooled and has become really thick, we do know what the actual consistency is like when it's warm. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it's a very important lesson. And the potatoes. So these guys, they came off. What is important is that they are holding their shape, but they are also cooked, which they are. Let's put it together. What is actually really great about this dish as well is that you could make it, glaze it the day before, and put it in the fridge. You could even cook these, cook this, and you could line a bowl with cling film. Make your dome shape in the bowl with your layers and everything the day before. The next day, you could roll out your puff, make it. So it's a good thing that you can make a little bit ahead of time, but also you can do it all in one day. It's not particularly difficult. You just have to wait for all your things to cool down before we build it, because otherwise your puff pastry will also slightly melt. So I suggest for this that you buy pre-rolled, because that just makes life easier. But obviously we are gonna fill half and use half to cover it. So let's cut it in half, pop that there. And now we're gonna build it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a circle on the bottom, and we're gonna dome it up, because that is the classic Pithivier shape. That is what you want. As we layer in the potato, we're gonna season it slightly. We're gonna add a little bit of the leeks and cheese. Then we're gonna grate a little bit more cheese in, and we're just gonna continue that until it becomes a perfect dome. When you're making this, really take the time and care to layer it up and make it look nice. Making sure that you season between each layer is really important when you're making this, because there's nothing worse than something that's under-seasoned. And to finish it off, a little end of the potato to keep the perfect dome. Now I suggest you get it onto your baking tray. Give it a little squish together to make sure, because this is still a little bit warm, so it did spread out a touch. Then we need to make an egg wash, but do just use an egg yolk, because then we're gonna get a really glossy finish. What I need to do here with this piece of puff is obviously just roll it out slightly so that we can cover the whole beautiful tower of Dauphinoise and cream and leek and deliciousness. So just roll it slightly more into a square. That should do the trick. And then egg wash around the bottom so that we can stick it. And then we're gonna layer this over the top and push out all of the air. Voila, we are all wonderfully stuck. We're gonna egg wash it, all like that, all around every crevice, evenly distributed. And we need to sit it in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes because we want that egg to set so that we can cut it and glaze it again before it goes into the oven. So I'll see you in 15. This has had 15 minutes in the fridge, and what happens is this glaze becomes shiny and wonderful. That is my little bit of leftover stuff. As you can see, not much potato. This, a little bit left over, but I would say that was probably down to the size of the leek. But this will be a delicious little snack nonetheless, so don't get rid of it. Save it for when you're not eating this. We've glazed it one time, we're gonna glaze it one more time, we're gonna sit it back in the fridge for another 10 minutes. This step, not necessary, but it does mean that you do end up with a way better top. So we will glaze it one more time, all over. This gives everything a really great chance to set. As I said, if you can be bothered, but the result of doing it again is so much better than just one time, because you end up with this deep dark glaze that just looks spectacular. So back into the fridge for another 10 to set, but what I have done is preheated the oven. So the oven is on 190 so that when this comes out and we cut it and prep it, it can go straight in. 10 more minutes have gone, it has set a little bit more. Now it's time to decorate, make this thing look beautiful, and it be the Christmas centerpiece showstopper that you want it to be. We're going to go classic Pithivier vibes, but what we need to do first of all is cut off the excess around the edge. And the good thing is about this, from where it's now sat in the fridge, is obviously it's chilled. So you need to cut all the way around the edge. We are done. Now this is kind of up to you how you like to do it, but if you take a little toothpick or maybe like a barbecue skewer, pick it up and we can make these nice little indentations around the edge. So let's go with that. So it makes a really beautiful little scalloped edge. Gorgeous. Okay, wipe your skewer. Now we need to make a little hole in the top so that some steam can come out. We can see here the little bump, that's the potato, but this we are going to cut all the way through. So slice into across and take your little skewer and we're going to fold it open just to make a very cute little opening at the top like that. Okay, now for the scoring. So this is the hardest thing I would say about Pithivier, but what we need to do is make a almost semicircle shape, but what's handy now is you've got these 4 edges, so this is a nice kind of, it's going to keep everything in the little quadrants. So in each of your 4 sections where you've made your little air hole, we are going to put these little scalloped turns. You need to decide how many you'd like to put in. Sounds complicated, but once you see what I'm doing, hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. So you want to make it on a curve, and this is why we've egg washed it, so that hopefully we're going to go all the way through. But what you want to make sure is that you don't go all the way through the pastry. We're just scoring it. Some will of course come out better than others, but that's just the way it goes. So as you can see here, super shiny from the egg glaze, beautifully little scalloped edges and slices through the egg wash, but not all the way through the pastry, with our little air hole looking gorgeous. And we are done. So in it goes to the oven, 190 degrees for probably 35 minutes or so, and we'll have a look at it, and then it's ready. And here it is. Perfectly shiny, perfectly glossy, beautifully coloured. I did actually end up cooking it for 40 minutes, and just for the last 10 minutes I turned the oven up to 200 just to get that wonderful deep dark colour, because you want that puff pastry to be cooked to perfection. Honestly, this is gorgeous. Puff pastry, perfection. Any Frenchman would be impressed. And now to transfer it to the board that we will put it on. I'm also going to keep the paper on there because I quite like the texture of it. Oh, let's cut into it. This is honestly so beautiful. Oh, I've just never made anything so gorgeous in my life. Make sure you've cut all the way through. You really want to make sure that when you cook it, that bottom gets good and crisp. Oh my God, just look at that. Beautiful layers of potato, onion and mushroom. What more could you possibly want? That will steal the show at any Christmas dinner. So let's give it a try. Oh, just that flaky pastry on top and that Dauphinoise middle. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is just amazing. Buttery crisp pastry, them classic Dauphinoise potatoes, the herbs, the leeks, the mushrooms. Whether you are a vegetarian or not, this will steal the show. It's a great way to have something different on your Christmas table that tastes incredible, looks amazing, that is full of relatively cheap ingredients, but also an amazing crowd pleaser. Oh, it's so good. If you're looking for some more Christmas ideas, go check out my playlist. It's packed to the brim of all great things that you can do, make now, have ready for Christmas, all sorts. But what I definitely do suggest is that you maybe think about making this your Christmas dinner because it is sensational. Yum. And that is this week done. Another recipe for all you fantastic people out there. I really do appreciate every single one of you for liking, commenting, subscribing. And hey, if you're new here, give us a little subscribe so that you don't miss out on any more amazing Christmas stuff or just banging recipes that come out of the Dishes with Del kitchen. And maybe you're a little bit worried about Christmas. Down in the description box, I've added my helpful Christmas cheat sheet. It's a great way to get everything ready for the big day without the stress. As it is coming up to Christmas, make sure you look after your friends and your family, people that maybe don't have as much as you, or maybe just need a big old hug. Make sure you look after everyone because it's that time of the year, and also the rest of the year. But I'll see you all back next week for another Christmas treat. I'll see you soon. I love you lots. Make sure you give this one a go.